Belmont,
Tom McHugh, President of Belmont.
Brisbane. Burlingame. Colma,
Here, Harry Slaughter.
Daly City. East Palo Alto,
President Ruben Ambrica, alternate.
Foster City,
President Susie Niederhofer.
Half Moon Bay,
Patrick Johnson, President.
Hillsborough. Menlo Park. Millbrae,
Steve Rinaldi, President.
Pacifica,
Greg Wright, here.
Portola Valley. Redwood City,
Aya Aiken, present.
San Bruno,
Rico Medina, President.
San Carlos,
John Dugan here.
San Mateo,
Ralph Newsom.
South San Francisco. Woodside,
I'll go here.
Brisbane. Hi.
Here, sorry.
Thank you.
Cliff Lentz. Sorry, I'm a little tardy. That's all right. Hey, mate. Let's move on to, thank you. Item 2, public comments, correspondence or announcements. Are there any this time?
Public comment is reserved for persons wishing to address the finance committee on any emergency, address the emergency services council on any emergency services council related matters that are not otherwise on this meeting agenda.
Since there are none, we will continue to move on to now item 3, action to set agenda and approve consent item for the agenda. Any discussion? Seeing no public comment, is there any action? That means don't be shy. Motion seconds. So moved. Thank you, Doug. Second. Thank you. It's been motion and second to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 4. San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control District update.
Hi, everyone. I
Good
think
evening.
slides. I think I saw you last night.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I was at the San Bruno City Council meeting for everyone else.
That
tonight.
we were at the council meeting. We did a proclamation. Let's be clear. Did a proclamation for declaring the week in June. And she was on the same. Good to see you again.
And oh, you want me to share my slide deck? Okay, sorry, give me 1 second. I thought maybe you would have it.
We celebrated vector control in San Carlos on Monday night, so.
Yes, thank you. Just get my slide. Can everyone see my slide now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, my name is Rachel Curtis Robles. I'm here at San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control District. I'm sorry I'm not able to join in person this evening because our board meeting is this evening in about 27 minutes. So after this, I will not speak for 27 minutes, but after this, I will pop upstairs for our own board meeting. I have some slides tonight about what we do. I am our education and outreach officer. So any outward facing communications, if you'd like a presentation to a group, I do CERT groups, I do city councils, I do Rotary groups, I do scout groups. Anyone you think might need a presentation, park and public works staff, you'll see will become relevant later in my presentation. I'm happy to come out and give a presentation. I also visit schools throughout the county, and so I can speak to a wide range of audiences. I say 4 and up, we're good to go. We are an independent special district. We are funded by property taxes through property assessments, but special benefits as well, depending on where in the county you're located. We are separate than the county system, so I do appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. Shruti invited me to speak this evening. Even though we are not under what I call the county umbrella, we do serve the whole county. We're one of only 2 independent special districts that have the entire county as our jurisdiction. We're all state certified under the Department of Pesticide Regulation and then under a memorandum with the California Department of Public Health. So everyone on staff is tested and certified vector control technician. And our mission here is to help protect the safety and health of people living, working, and playing in San Mateo County from mosquitoes and other vectors of diseases. We have a small but mighty staff. We are only about 24 full-time staff, and we add some seasonal staff in the summer to help us during sort of peak mosquito season. I like to mention to this group in particular, we have some pretty cool equipment. So we have an airboat that we use to go out and check Bear Island. We have some Argos. We have a growing collection of drones at this point for using for not only mapping areas where mosquitoes are known to breed, but also applying pesticide when relevant, because then we can literally reduce our physical footprint on the environment. We are a data-driven, integrated pest management-based strategy, and so everything we do is trying to be proactive and using data to make sure we're doing science-based decisions. So what work do we include? All mosquito control in the county. That is our bread and butter. We were started over 100 years ago because mosquitoes breeding in the marshy areas along the bay could fly 20 miles. And so you can imagine much of the county was affected by those seasonal population booms of mosquitoes. We can offer mosquito fish, which are small fish that eat mosquitoes. So we don't have to put pesticide in certain water sources. We can put the fish in instead. We can identify insects and ticks. We have 4 staff scientists here, and they are all experts at identifying any creepy little crawly thing. We also collaborate with the Department of Ag a little bit because we are in charge of bugs that bother people while they are in charge of bugs that bother plants. We can do rodent inspections. We don't do the work or the trapping, but we can help people figure out how are rats and mice getting into their homes and structures. And our technicians go out and have very experienced eyes to go and find all those little nooks and crannies and gaps where rodents can be getting into homes. We do yellow jacket control. So as long as you know where the nest is, yellow jackets look, a lot of people confuse them for bees. They typically live in a hive in a hole in the ground. As long as you know where the entrance to the nest is roughly, our technician will come out fully garbed up in a bee suit and get right in there to treat that nest. Yellow jackets can sting and bite. Some people have anaphylactic reactions to their stings and bites, and so they are considered a vector under the definition of the Health and Safety Code in California. We're here for community education, so anytime you think anyone might like a talk about anything on this list, I'm happy to come out and give a custom presentation. We also do disease surveillance. I'll mention in the next slide about dead birds, but we do have a full BSL-2 laboratory here, and we do standards with the California Department of Health each year to make sure that we're up to spec for testing for West Nile virus and a few other mosquito-borne illnesses. Importantly, there's no extra charge for our services. Everything is already covered by those property taxes. So anytime a resident or a business or an agency needs our help, we're there. There's no extra charge. I wanted to talk about 3 things tonight in particular that I think might be of interest to this audience. The first is West Nile virus, which is the disease of highest concern that's spread by mosquitoes in California. It typically cycles between birds and mosquitoes in the wild, but it can infect people and horses as well. It can especially affect people who are elderly or with immunocompromised conditions, and so we want to make sure we're protecting some of our most sensitive populations. We do a lot of trapping. You can see a picture here of one of our vector control technicians, Justin, holding a trap that we would use to capture mosquitoes, to see where their populations are, what types of mosquitoes, and test those mosquitoes to see if they're carrying West Nile virus. And we do those tests in-house. This is Teresa setting up the PCR reaction. If we were to find West Nile virus in an area of the county, we would then be triggered to do what we call adult mosquito control, which would involve one of our pickup trucks with a mister in the back. We have not had to do that in several years. I think largely due to our nice Mediterranean climate here, but also because we are so proactive about keeping those mosquito populations down. And tied into that is that one thing that the public can do, and we love for people to help us spread this message, is to report dead birds. I know a lot of dead bird stuff is in the media the past several months related to avian influenza. We do not test birds for avian flu. We do test birds for West Nile virus. And so dead birds, some kinds of birds are die easily from a West Nile virus infection, such as crows and jays and ravens. And sometimes they're the first indicator in an area that West Nile virus is an issue there. So we really encourage the public to report birds. If it's a testable bird, a recently deceased bird, we will test it and see if we need to do some extra surveillance in that area. The other thing that's been making its way through California the past several years is a kind of mosquito that's not native to our area. So it's called an invasive Aedes aegypti mosquito. We did have it many years ago. Some of you might recall in Menlo Park in 2013 to 2015, but we worked really carefully and the community there was very receptive to making sure we can go and check their backyards for standing water. And we were able to be the first county in the state to eliminate that mosquito from our county after it was introduced. Unfortunately, the risk is here again. It's been making its way up from Southern California where it was introduced several years ago. This mosquito is small. Frequently people don't notice it right away. It's a small little black and white striped mosquito. They bite aggressively. They tend to bite around your ankles and lower legs, so people refer them as ankle biters. And they can spread dengue, Zika, and other diseases. Until just a few years ago, we had not had any transmission of dengue locally in California, but that changed a year and a half ago. And so this is a mosquito that we want people to report biting mosquitoes so we can always know to go to check to see if it might be this mosquito. This is not a mosquito we want in our county. I've experienced its biting in Southern California, and it is not something that anyone in our county is used to, and we're going to do our best to keep it out. Finally, here, our tick bite prevention education is a core part of our program as well. So we educate park staff, water district staff, public works staff about how to prevent tick bites, how to properly remove ticks. We have these little tick kits available right now for no charge. People can sign up on the website. If you have a group that would like a tick talk, I can come and give a tick bite prevention talk and just answer a lot of concerns and mitigate fears about myths and misinformation that's out there. I would also like to invite anyone who would like to stop by our open house, which will not be this Saturday, but the following Saturday. We'll be here from 12 until 4 on Rollins Road in Burlingame, across from Granger, not too far from the SBCA where you can go to adopt. And we'll have all our equipment out for display. All of our staff will be here to answer questions, all those burning questions you have about mosquitoes and other vectors. And we'd be happy to see any of you there. I'm happy to take questions. That's all I have. But if there's no time, you can also just always feel free to reach out to the district or main line and just say you have a question and you'll get to the right department.
Any questions or comments from colleagues, members of council?
I did have one. Yeah, on your list of the work that you do, there's the rodent inspections. I was just curious because I find that in some areas where there's apartment buildings, there probably tend to be more rodent around the trash or whatever. And sometimes some landlords don't respond, others slowly, others do respond. Are you open to landlords calling and having you help with that? Because, you know, I've seen situations where, you know, there's families living and there's rats running around and nobody's doing anything. And sometimes I say, well, call environmental health, you know, but I didn't realize that you also provided that service. So that's something that one could refer some landlords, you know, maybe they don't know that that's available.
Yes, there's a small nuance of we will do multi-unit housing, 3 units and above gets referred to environmental health, but we're happy to have tenants or landlords call and we'll come do an inspection. We also will frequently help folks work through the code enforcement pathway because we don't levy or enforce the codes, but the relevant jurisdiction, code enforcement, will do that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So I had I guess subterranean type bees or something, and I called the mosquito abatement, and I gotta say, they came out with full, you know, suit, and they took care of that. They were living under the ground inside. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I don't know what kind of bees they were, or if they were wasp or something. But that was that wasn't listed, but we called and they said, yes, we can take care of it. So I praise them because they definitely took care of it, because these things came after me after I was cutting the lawn. So it was pretty exciting Saturday morning. And the other thing is I noticed, because we did the same seminar at Half Moon Bay, bird feeders are frowned on. You're not supposed to be feeding the birds. Can you elaborate on that one? Because I'm a big bird feeder, but I guess after that meeting, I kind of pulled back on that.
Yes, unfortunately, I know a lot of people are fans of feeding the birds, so it's always one of the more delicate topics to talk about, but it is against the law in the state of California to feed wildlife, including songbirds. And part of the reason is that they can spread diseases. Part of the reason is then some of species will become accustomed being fed and then lose their ability to forage naturally in the environment. And then the third reason I think that is most compelling for people who really care about wildlife like yourself is that sometimes them congregating in one spot allows them to more easily spread diseases within themselves. So we see this with a certain kind of bird called the pine siskin that just periodically every few years they will have just a rash of salmonellosis pass through them. Their population, and a lot of birds will die. And by reducing the places where they can be in contact a lot and sharing germs, we can reduce the effect of them spreading diseases in their own populations as well.
And the last question I have is, because I think you covered it on the last meeting and this one too, maybe. If you see a dead bird, do we touch it or don't touch it? How do we convey that to the general public? I mean, what do you do when you see it? You're just kind of wondering, why is this bird dead? It looks healthy.
Yeah, so you can always call the dead bird hotline. Honestly, if you just Google California report dead bird, it'll probably be the top hit. And then if you call that number, follow the directions online, they will walk you through. Generally, they will want you to put the dead bird in a place where our staff will know to pick it up. If it's a very dried up, long dead bird, they would encourage you that we won't be able to test it, and so it would be more appropriate to dispose of it probably in the trash can. But for dead birds that are being tested, just a plastic bag inside out and grabbing it that way and tying it up and putting it someplace where our staff can collect it. You cannot get West Nile virus from touching a dead bird. I also think the risk of you getting avian influenza from touching a dead bird is very, very low. So it's not as concerning as many other types of diseases you could get from touching dead things.
Thank you.
Any other questions? St. Carlos, yes, please.
Sure, yeah, just a quick one. I'm glad we haven't had an event where we had to run a fogger truck with, aerial spraying going. But if that did roll through San Carlos, I can only imagine the number of phone calls I would get. But what would I be able to tell residents on what chemical is that? What's its toxicity? Like, what would you recommend I tell a resident about that?
So that would be something that when and if that does occur, that would be messaging that would come from us. So something we do with all the city staff as we get West Nile virus positive birds, we are in close communication with the city staff, just like heads up, we're going to be doing extra mosquito trapping and surveillance in your jurisdiction in this area. And if we find a positive mosquito, then that will trigger the next step. And so there's a series of informational steps of just alerting the public, hey, we're extra in the area just because of the positive bird, and then encouraging to dump standing water and report standing birds. And then the next step would be, we wouldn't be in close communication before the public was aware with the city staff and the city council to let them know, hey, we're doing this. Here's the information on our website about exactly what pesticide we are using. Here's the EPA registration number for that pesticide. Here's the safety profile for that pesticide. Here's exactly when we are and are not going to be applying that pesticide to reduce the effect on. I know a lot of people are very concerned, as we are as well, about pollinator species. And so our pesticide applications are timed to reduce the effect on pollinator species such as honeybees. And that would all be information we would have ready. There is information on our website. We have one pesticide we would use primarily. And so the information for that is on our website. But again, like I said, there would be a lot of chitter chatter and back and forth and us meeting with the city manager and others in the city before that would happen.
Got it. Sounds good. Thank you.
Rachel, thank you very much. I know you have a board meeting to go. Tell them from us to them, we all said hello.
Thank
Tell
you.
Glenn.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. Thank you. We'll move on to item 5, public health update, please.
Well, thank you. I'm Kismet Bowen Santana. I'm the San Mateo County Health Officer. I don't know if you've ever interacted with Scott Morrow, so he was here for 30-some years. I'm the new Scott. A little less than 2 years.
You look much different.
Yes. Haven't gotten the gray, that level of gray yet. I'm gonna get there, sure. All right, so I will make this quick. This is our public health update.
And may I ask if you should speak up a little bit?
Yeah.
louder? Thank you.
I will make this quick. This is our public health update. We'll talk about a few things, heat, what we're looking at, what we're planning for in this upcoming season. We are expecting several high temperature days in the upcoming season. I don't think that's a surprise. Not quite sure how many. You know, depending on the site that you look at, like CalAdapt, it's, you know, estimating 4 to 5 extreme heat days in this next season, up to 10 by 2035. But if you look at other sites, it's all modeling, it's all forecasting, it's not exact science on the numbers. I think the main point is that we're gonna have more extreme heat days as we go on, and so we need to be prepared for those. Within health, county health, our epidemiology team is starting this summer to monitor emergency department visits. And when it's coded for heat related illnesses and things like that, when do we start to see increases? And how does that correlate to what temperatures? So we can maybe get a better idea of when we should start being worried about the public when we have increased temperatures. And then we are working with our public health preparedness and EMS coordinator and that team to assess when and if programs like aging and disability services and our family health services that takes care of pregnant women and young children, when we should be reaching out to them when there's, you know, extreme heat days that are forecasted, to just let them know, be prepared. This is what you should have, working with emergency management so that we know what kind of information to give them. And these are just all infographics. We can go past these, and just really quickly on the heat risk index. We do use this, and looking back over the last few years, 2020, we've had 25 days that were 2 or higher, so mod orange or higher. In 2021, we had 12. In 2022, 23 days. In 2023, 22 days. And then 2024, we've had 27 days that rated orange or higher in the summer season. Again, I think just good infographics. You have these presentations, you can use them. They're from the CDC and CDPH. This is what we'll be using. We're looking at air quality. Most of you probably already know this. We're looking at 2 things, ozone and fine particulate matter, or the PM 2.5. Those are the ones that are major regional pollutants and of most concern for health. We don't tend to have a lot of issues with ozone. But the PM 2.5 can be an issue, especially during the winter, depending on the source. It'll say San Mateo County doesn't have a lot of, you know, days where we have high PM 2.5. But if you look over time, there are times when it goes up and then comes back down. But I think as an average, that's not one of our major issues at this point in time, but we should be preparing for it. And it doesn't have to happen here. It could be a wildfire someplace else, and it's bringing in that particulate matter, potentially causing health issues. Again, we're looking at this with our epidemiology team and collaborating with the community-based organizations from several of your cities on, you know, just the health risks of fine particulate matter and poor air quality. And again, these are the resources that we tend to hand out. And then the last is infectious diseases, kind of where we're at with this. Just mentioned about avian influenza or H5N1. Thankfully, there's been a significant decline in the cattle and poultry cases in California since January of 2025. And the California Department of Public Health has pretty much packed up their emergency services on this. So it's business as usual as far as H5N1. There have been no human cases since January of 2025. No human cases in San Mateo County. We have had a couple of cats and some backyard poultry that have been positive, and the risk to the public remains low. Measles, again, there's been several cases in California. None of them linked to what started off in Texas and has spread through New Mexico and other states. Most of them are related to international travel. Southeast Asian countries where there have been outbreaks happening there. And we have had one case in San Mateo County. I'm sorry, that seems one case. And then COVID-19, this past respiratory season, we did see a lot of flu, we did see RSV, what we did not see a lot of was COVID. So we are expecting a wave of COVID over this summer, which we've had the last couple of summer seasons, a bit of a spike in COVID cases. And those are the main infectious diseases that we're looking at and monitoring right now. And if anything new comes up, we will definitely let you know. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions? Anybody on specific?
Doing anything on water quality control in some of our creeks?
The good question. I'd have to talk to our environmental health team a little closer about that, and then the water boards. And I found that water is more complicated than I ever thought it would be, and who's actually monitoring the water and testing the water. Sometimes it's the state, sometimes it's a regional group, sometimes it's our environmental health team. And so I don't have a great answer for you. I'll just be honest, right?
What's the best way to reach out to you for?
Oh, you can have my email address. It's K Baldwin, BALDWIN Santana, SANTANA at smcgov.org. And I'm sure she's got it. She can send it out to the whole
We're happy to do
council.
that.
And so, yeah, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you see the spike in COVID when kids are going back to school?
We haven't.
Okay,
We
we're
haven't
just,
seen that sort of correlation. When they go back to school, it tends to be, we're starting the respiratory virus season in the fall. And you may see some sort of correlation, but not just because they've gone back to school. We haven't seen that. And again, not really sure what happened over this last respiratory season.
Hey.
Maybe that'll be the new pattern. I don't think we figured it out quite yet, but.
What's that in these follow?
any additional comment on whooping call?
Yes, we did see a big surge of cases this year. Interesting thing about whooping cough is that it has some periodicity where we expect every so many years, about every 4 years, you're gonna see a spike. That just seems to be the frequency of it. What we didn't see were some of the spikes during COVID. I don't know if it got, outplayed by some of our, by COVID and other respiratory viruses. So we didn't see that. And so we did see that this year. And every hospital and physicians that we've been talking to have noted that, but we have started to see a decline in it, and it's not totally unexpected.
Seems like a long duration.
It can drag out a little bit longer. And again, something like RSV, it actually shifted its time frame a little bit during COVID, and now it kind of moved back to when we were used to seeing it.
So for the COVID, should there be a surge, does the county that will provide free vaccines, or do people now have to? Yeah, I had that question about if they don't have, they're.
Yeah, we're no longer providing free vaccines. We've kind of gone back to pre-COVID where, we're really asking people to go to their primary care providers or to clinics or to see pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens that also stock the COVID vaccine and get it there, because things are potentially changing, but
So just,
ensure.
I'll be very specific, say, but also, would the clinic there be able to provide free vaccines since they do get some money from the county? I'm just worried about the people who, the most vulnerable populations, even if it's not a big thing, but that's what happened last time.
It was
I
covered.
mean,
by
I can
the
check with them, but your impression is that the clinics, county clinics or public health clinics will provide them free?
Well, the only public health clinics we have, and it gets very confusing, is an HIV clinic, STI, sexually transmitted infection, and TB clinic. So those are our public health clinics. The federally qualified health centers like Ravenwood and things like that, they're not one of the public health clinics, but you're right. You can usually get vaccines and things at a lower price, and there's usually a sliding scale for services. So I don't think that they're doing them for free, because I doubt that they're getting the vaccines for free.
Well, is there any reason why the county can't do that for free?
We're not getting them for free either. We're not getting.
Well, I
vaccines.
understand, but I'm saying, yeah, I just have that question because of people. If they can't. Yeah, isn't that something that the county should do?
I'll
Or
take it back to
consider
our immunization team
Some
and see.
limited basis, I mean, hopefully it won't, be a big deal, but. It is still the vulnerable.
Why don't we
population.
have, since we don't have the specific answer, why don't we can get that back to our
Yes,
fellow?
please email me. I'm sure he sends out the email and I'll.
Yeah. Well, not just these Palo Alto,
I understand, but you were being specific to on a
Right,
particular clinic, so I want to make sure you get the right answer.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, sorry.
So I live on top of the ridge where from my back deck, I look down on a pretty good stretch of Highway 101 right near the San Mateo Bridge. When I moved there 30 years ago, I could see a band of brown smog that exactly followed 101. And it would get worse during the week. Well, not too bad on Monday, but it got more and more dense through the week. And then it would kind of clear out on the weekend. It was an astonishingly consistent pattern, and it was obviously small. But I don't see that now. I haven't seen that. Are there, in terms of air quality, is that something that is showing up in the numbers? Is there a reason why that might be other than just better pollution control and BRX?
I can't speak to that specific phenomenon that you observed, but as far as air quality in general, along highways and next to, factories and industrial areas, you do tend to see for differences in air quality and potentially differences in health outcomes, but I don't know exactly along the 101 corridor. But it's interesting something that we could maybe take a look at and see. But yeah, that specific thing, sure.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the update. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we know why, COVID, we expect it will surge in the summer? Why does COVID surge in the summer? Do we have a theory? Do we know why?
I don't know. I think we have a great theory yet. I mean, most viruses have some sort of chronicity, like flu. You see it come in the winter and then it fades away. And same thing for RSV. There's a season for it. I don't think we figured out exactly what the seasonality is for COVID. I think we're still figuring it out. The potential for why we didn't see a big surge or wave in the winter was because we had that big wave in the summer and people are exposed to it. You develop immunity. Some people got their boosters. And so there was still some immunity left and we didn't see a lot of cases in the winter, but now, maybe that's waning again. And so you start to see it in the community, circulating in the community again in the summer. That's kind of where we're at with it. I don't think anybody really had COVID totally down yet. Even though it seems like it's been around forever now, and we keep talking about it, but I think it's gonna take a little longer to figure out what its characteristics are.
Well, thank you very much again from Public Health. Let's go to fire season outlook.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Pino, Battalion Chief with CAL FIRE, San Mateo County Fire. I know we're a little pressed from time, so I will kind of go through this slideshow a bit faster than expected and have some time for questions. I'll start out by saying we're looking really good this year. All our models, June, July, we're going to be great. Predicting in August is going to be a little bit more cumbersome, but we should have a fairly normal fire season here. As you can see, last winter was predicted as a La Nina pattern. The Pacific Northwest got absolutely hammered with rain. You can see that Southern California really didn't get a whole lot. We reaped the benefits of a lot of those weather systems. The next slide, you will see some of the atmospheric rivers that were coming through. And you can see that we had a good amount of strong and some extreme weather patterns that came through our area. That being said, the heavier fuels, the brush, the trees, we're not really worried about those catching fire. What we tend to see in fire seasons where we've had a lot of rain during the winter is the grass crop and the brush crop grow extremely quickly. They also dry out very quickly, so we will probably see a lot more grass fires. They tend to move a bit faster, but they are much easier to control than a heavy timber fire. So we might see the numbers be a little bit more than average, but total acres burned should be relatively low this year, particularly in this county. Percent of normal precipitation, we are looking right around 90% within San Mateo County, so we are looking really great. Drought monitor for the US kind of goes along with the La Nina pattern that was predicted. The north part of the state is looking really good. We do see some areas of drought within Southern California, which is to be expected. I think what we call South Ops, which is below the Monterey County line, will have a much busier fire season this year than North Ops. To speak to that, we just had roughly 20 to 30,000 lightning strikes in Northern California. The largest fire that was produced from that was 30 acres. So that's boding pretty well for us right now. Just another drought monitor. Skip to that. So current fuel conditions. So soil moisture is a good predictor for us with how much the vegetation is going to dry out in the summer months. We are sitting right around average, a little bit below, but everything looks good for us to have an on-track fire season for San Mateo County. This kind of speaks to the next 3 months that we're looking at. So everything is going to be normal. Inland in July there's going to be a little bit more heightened fire danger, and then we get into August, it's going to be a bit more. But again, the coastal communities, because of our temperatures and the relative humidities we have, we should be sitting pretty good. We skip through that one. The big thing with the next few slides is they're predicting kind of a neutral winter this year where we might see some more monsoonal moisture. With that, you are going to get some more lightning storms, but that will be way further on into fire season. So all our prediction models look pretty good so far. With that, I will take questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sorry, that was quick.
Questions for members of the council? Let's start to go around. Hillsborough.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. My question is that you have all these indicators that help you shape your models, right? So the reality of the fire, or the number of fire, or the sort of scale of the fires, does it reflect on that? And does that change your fire science in terms of how to put out the fires?
The science with putting out fires is a little bit different. Our predictor models are on track with what we're seeing right now. We are seeing an increase in fires starting, but total acreage is substantially less than our 5-year average, which goes along with, grass fires that are happening. You can get a fire on Altamont that'll go 100, 200 acres very, very quickly, but you're done in 2 hours putting it out. Where you have a 1/4 acre timber fire, you're going to be there for about a week, mopping up and making sure that fire doesn't spark again. So we will be busier, but the overall intensity of fire situation is lower.
And a follow-up, and that is, so the indicators is year to years, or do you see a sort of 5 years out predictions as to what the impact?
So the predictions, we usually do about 3 months at a time is the best, because those go with, energy release component, relative humidity, temperature, fuel moistures, winds, if we're in a drought year or not. There's people that are much smarter than I am that come up with those metrics. But it's very hard for us to predict outside of 3 months, because we could have a phone wind event, which is, the Santa Ana's, Diablo winds, all that stuff. But the winds coming in from the desert, that'll dry out all the grass really quickly, and it blows our models completely out the window. So we're pretty comfortable with a 3 month outlook, and then just comparing everything to a 5-year average to gauge where we are in the state of California.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
On the soil moisture, just for curiosity, and I'm looking at the graph, it says like from 81 to 2013, and this one's updated 25. How are you guys getting that kind of data? Are you guys going into the ground and checking in?
Yeah, so we have foresters that go out and they will get fine dead fuel moistures, live moistures, soil moistures. And it's an entire division of CAL FIRE. And it's just scientists that collect all this information and run numbers for us, so.
Is it the same location every year? We gotta go this A, B, C, and D?
Yeah, they do the same locations, but they get a wide swath of information to make sure there's no contamination with the specific site, so. The numbers are pretty accurate with what they're going for.
Okay, thank you.
Civica.
Being from a fairly open space community, what is your response time for air support in the event that with a 30-acre fire?
So the way California is built out with our air bases, CAL FIRE has its own air force essentially. We should have aircraft on a fire within 20 minutes anywhere in the state of California. So the old metric for us was anything north of Highway 92, we would get aircraft from Sonoma. Anything south of 92, we get it from Hollister. That is pretty on par. A lot of times when I'm getting fires, the last fire I had on San Bruno Mountain, I had aircraft overhead before I had all my first one engine companies there. They're quick. And then the new Sikorsky helicopters that we're utilizing, they are so fast. It's like 150 knots that they can fly. And our closest one is out of Palma, right on Lexington Reservoir on Highway 17. So we get air resources very, very quickly. The one caveat to that is new starts are the priority for aircraft. So unless there's an immediate threat to life, we cannot hold onto that aircraft if there's a new start. So as an incident commander, I can say I need a no divert on this aircraft because we have a life threat. But if another fire breaks out on the Altamont and I haven't declared that, and there are very strict guidelines, that aircraft's gonna go to the new fire. But our goal is any fire within 20 minutes.
But so we have nothing stationed in San Mateo.
No, we don't.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Could I,
Oh, I'm
sorry,
follow up.
follow-up question? On your final considerations, you mentioned the indications are fairly strong that summer 2025 could feature a near to above average North American monsoon. Does that apply to San Mateo County?
It will. That encompasses most of the state. The monsoon pattern, they have a really hard time predicting this one because you're kind of in the middle. We're not an El Nino, we're not a La Nina year. But with monsoonal moisture, you do get that abundance of lightning storms that comes in. You also get a lot of rain. So I think with where heavy timbers are right now, a monsoonal pattern coming through with lightning is not going to be as devastating as it would have been 5 years ago. At least for the north part of the state. So, I think the end result is it's going to be a very normal fire season, barring any kind of crazy weather patterns that come through. So we'll try and keep them small.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you very much. There is no public comments, so we will thank you again and move on to item 7, wildfire prevention collaboration.
Never mind. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Mila Zelka. I'm the CEO of Manzanita Works. We're a local nonprofit. Where's the chair? The vice chair. Oh, vice chair. I wanted to greet the vice chair, Medina, and the rest of the council members. Sorry, I was just getting oriented.
Sorry.
So Manzanita Works has an audacious goal, and that is to rebuild the American dream. Where families in the 1940s could count on their children having improved earning power over that of their parents, the phenomenon is now out of reach for today's working adults. And unless one is independently wealthy, our ability to weather the tidal changes of life is far from guaranteed. Hard hit are mutual aid workers or essential workers if we've come to know them. the people who make our infrastructure work and help us survive on a daily basis. The ways in which they're interrupted in their ability to come to work are similar to the challenges many of us face. Where we can live, how do we get to work? Do we need to care for a family member? How do we manage significant health concerns, the cost and quality of our groceries? And what do we do if a major disaster hits? Any of us could find ourselves knocked off our feet and living paycheck to paycheck. So Manzanita Works has developed a model to build consortiums that help improve the odds of achieving the American dream for the greatest number of people. We are named after the resilient native plant here in the Western states. And some of you may be familiar with our transportation programs or our work at health access and childcare during the pandemic. We work very closely with 7 school districts across San Mateo County and Santa Clara County, healthcare institutions, childcare and dependent service providers, food service, first responders, and other essential providers. Did I say that? Yeah, okay. So in the last year, we've been asked to apply our model for consortium building to wildfire prevention. We have letters of intent from property owners from several counties in the region, including San Mateo. But I'm seeing on my slides here, I'm going to skip over. This is next slide. Yes, I'll go back to that one in a moment. So we are working with property owners that range from single family homeowners to a property like Hidden Villa with 1,600 acres. They all want to do wildfire prevention work, home hardening on their properties. And they're interested to consider what would it take for a community, not just separate individuals, to survive a severe wildfire and add to public efforts that all of you are embarked upon. The consortium enables stakeholders to collaborate on important safety measures that integrate traditional land stewardship, protection practices to help prevent a fire from starting or spreading in the first place. And the activities of the consortium are aligned with state and local policy requirements and guidelines such as FireWise USA and local fire district safety best practices. So I will go back to that other slide. We do have some benefits, which include a benefit that's available to the community right now. It's the Manzanita Tool Share. It was funded by the San Mateo County Sustainability Department. Anyone can borrow tools for free on a weekly basis. We have a pop-up in Redwood City, and it includes an inventory of vegetation management equipment. So that's there. And then we also have a community time bank that is affiliated with this if community groups want to do group volunteer service with some of these tools. That's in its fledgling state. So if you have any questions for me or would like more information, I'm sorry that the font here, it's MILA@MANZANITA.WORKS.
Thank you very much. We'll start on this side. If there are any questions or from colleagues. Yes.
When's the next pop-up? I think it's a great idea with the tool on this here. That's great.
Yeah, so you can sign up online on our platform and then you select what you'd like to borrow. We confirm your reservation and then we meet up with you. Our pop-ups are the designated time is between 10 and 12 Saturday mornings in front of the Police Activities League on Bay Road in Redwood City. But we also have Wednesday mornings as an option in front of Verbo Redwood City Church, also on Bay Road. And the more people, it's not Redwood City focused necessarily. Anyone can join the tool share. It is free this year. The rentals are free. When we kick in rates, it'll be like joining Costco for $30 a year type of thing. And the more demand we have, happy to set up pop-ups in other communities. The tools are actually stored at Hidden Villa on their farm so that they're in a secure spot and we're not dragging a bunch of equipment everywhere in a trailer.
That's a great idea. It's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions going around? Oh, those were-
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. There is a slide deck where you mentioned about the Firewise USA. So are you working closely with the local Firewise in San Mateo County, or
In
how
both
does that work?
Yes, so I mean, Firewise is a fantastic program and there's a big push to have homeowners join them. Once they do one of those assessments, sometimes homeowners either get overwhelmed on what to do first. I mean, they're told what to do, but just making that next step to actually do the work is a piece of it. So we offer what in the building and trades industry is referred to as owner's rep services. So we can do some hand holding to help with the bidding process. And then, to put it very simply, but then with the consortium, one of the main goals of the consortium is collective purchasing. So if you had, you know, X number of people or households or properties that wanted to do the moving of propane tanks or, whatever the item is, there can be a call to the consortium, who wants in on this? We're taking bids for a group purchase. Much like a neighborhood might all go in on rebuilding a fence, you know, but this enables it to be a decentralized network. So it doesn't have to be that, oh gosh, I really hope my neighbor goes in on this with me right now. But you can still potentially capture some cost savings. And so hopefully that helps move people along.
So just to follow up, so Hillsborough is certified as a Firewise district, or and so the connections or the collaborations with Manzanita Works will be through our Firewise chairs or the committee to go through and then connect with you and then collaborate to see if we can get a group of neighbors who are interested in same tools or something like
Yes.
that.
To date, we are most closely coordinated with property owners in Woodside, Portola Valley, Los Altos Hills, Santa Cruz. So happy to talk to anyone.
Thank you.
That's, we're just getting the word out, and we were so honored to be invited to come share. So happy to talk to anyone.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
On the question, San Carlos.
Yeah, a great program, really, like the tool share. First time hearing about it, so I appreciate the outreach, but I would just encourage you to really think through your outreach, make sure people are hearing of this, and I'd be happy to introduce you to our communications manager if you want to be in some of our newsletters, et cetera. I think it'd be great to get the word out on this.
Wonderful, would love to. I forgot to mention, we have a relationship with local brick and mortar hardware stores. So we actually purchase all the tools and equipment through Hassett Ace Hardware, Hayward Lumber, and Outdoor Supply, Hardware Supply. Because some people might fall in love with an item and then want to go get it on their own. And they get discounts at Hassett Ace if they're part of the tool share. But we're really about supporting these local brick and mortars, because as we saw in the pandemic, we need them in crises too.
But could I just follow up with another question? Find it fascinating. The county offers chipping programs to some of the cities, and do you also get into that space in terms of the chipping programs and help collaborate with the cities?
We can. We haven't ratified the consortium yet. We have letters of intent. So right now, we're partway through this process of forming the consortium. And once the consortium agreement is ratified, then we'll be asking the group, what would you like to do? The idea is absolutely not to duplicate programs that are out there. If there are programs that there are out there, which there are many, like Los Altos Hills has, the fire district has a similar program, we will be helping get the word out to consortium members about that. For historical context, we ratified a transportation consortium, otherwise known as a TMA. The Ravenswood Transit Consortium was ratified in May 2020. In the height of shelter in place, one of the founding members was Google. Another one was the Ravenswood Family Health Clinic that had no resources to pay for transportation demand management. But with that, We have an e-bike loaner program. We already have a bunch of other things. And actually, thank you to Atherton for being part of the talks. And actually, there are many communities here who are part of a series of talks that helped us develop our model. We also have a childcare consortium, which Ravenswood City School District is a member of. So we really need to get to that point where the agreement is ratified. I'm just doing some initial hellos so that you all know that this is in the works and that this is potentially a resource in the community for the creation of community benefits that the public sector doesn't have to have the burden of financing or managing. It's to complement and amplify what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you again very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, it's an honor.
And with that, we'll move to the director's update, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. On your tables, you will see a calendar and that we're happy to share with you all. It's a preparedness calendar. We have it in all 3 languages, and also Disaster Preparedness Day flyers. We would love for you to share this with the rest of your councils and your city manager as well. As you've heard today, summer comes with a lot of risk, whether they're public health risk or heat, wildfire, drownings, in fact, air quality. And we basically want to collaborate with all the partners because we are all hazards team here at San Mateo County Emergency Management. So we are collaborating with NELA, for example, and Health and CAL FIRE on various topics. For example, Mila and I have talked about, can we get one of these ACE hardwares to actually put up signs and give discounts for fire resistant plants this summer, or maybe that's next summer, thinking through these things that are different and innovative in some ways. And then our normal programming that we're doing, next slide, is the all hazard evacuation planning. We have finished our base plan. We've gotten comments from the fire chiefs and the police chiefs. Now we are moving to each of the cities. So each of the cities have given us one dedicated person that is going to be working on their city specific planning. And we are kicking that off well. They're gonna get some training with Ladris that we've shared with you all before, and then they have an entire work plan. The work plan is cut into very few hours that people need to spend, and it's because we do know that this is duties as assigned for many emergency managers or city staff, city and town staff. So it's cut so it's digestible. We can actually do the work. The work is anticipated to be completed in the next 12 months for each of the cities. Next slide. We had a fantastic exercise with the civil support team and 20 other agencies here. We had over 160 participants really talking about weapons of mass destruction, and Sean here actually led that as an exercise director. We had quite a few different lanes where people, response agencies could practice things that they would not normally be able to practice. One of those things is like something radiological, or there was a medical component of it with the hospitals, with patients going to the hospital. So a full-scale functional exercise, which was sponsored by the civil support team. So we are taking advantage of our partners who are able to sponsor big exercises like that. And then lastly, be wildfire and stay ready. This was a wonderful event that we hosted where we had over 400 attendees come together. And we had a lot of interest. I actually had a woman come up to me and she talked about how she had never heard of this. And she had like basically a plan of how she was going to do home hardening 0 to 5. She's like, I never heard of this. And then I came and so we had a lot of experts, we had survivors of fire, and it was a wonderful event. There was so many people that came to us and they said, can we do this over again? And we're really grateful for our community outreach person. She has now started doing a minimum of 2 to 3 events on a monthly basis that are more grassroots. So you know, anywhere from 40 to 50 people. Sometimes it's only 12 people. But people are really absorbing the material and doing something about it. And then what we are seeing in correlation is that day after or that week, we see a huge spike in SMC alert signups. So we were just looking at the data from 2019 to now, and we have a 90% increase of SMC alert signups. Usually we have, 20 to 30 people sign up every time. And when we host these events, you see like, just the day after you see 50 people or 100 people sign up. And there's months where we have like 1,500 people sign up. So it's been very nice to see that people are engaged, because this is part of our 3-pronged approach, right? So our approach is for preparedness and resiliency is that we are prepared as the Department of Emergency Management and as the county. We have all of our responders and CBOs prepared for disaster and emergencies. And then we have the public, right? And so if you think about it, it's like a stool that has 3 legs. If you don't have that one leg, the stool will fall off, and we definitely want our public to be prepared. So that is all for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I had something I wanted to read as well, but why Director just gave a report. Was there any questions on the report?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I just have a comments regarding the SMC alert. I'm very excited to hear that there is a huge influx in terms of sign up. And I would be curious is that at the next meeting that you will be able to provide us in terms of each cities as to the sign up, because I think that is a motivation. As much as we like the alert and we find it helpful, not everybody subscribe to that. And so to the extent that if you can help us sort of help us understand that each city, the sign up rates or something like that, then we can certainly go back to our cities and advocate for it, and perhaps invite your staff to come and do a presentation of some sort to encourage more sign up.
Absolutely, we'd love to do that.
Thank you.
Other questions to the director? Pacifica.
Do you have a PDF?
Yes,
For
we
these days.
will send that along with a few other things that I have for you, including some of the email addresses. I will attach it, and we will send it this week.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing else, I just wanted to, the chair and I had talked, and this is written, so I kind of stay on track and get us out here on a reasonable time. But obviously, as we gather right now, we're operating in a much different federal landscape. And even when we first were talking about this, it was more about FEMA, but obviously even what's going on is a lot different. But what we're facing now is that we are trying to strategically position ourselves to not only weather the changes that we're finding, but emerge stronger. The current federal administration has initiated sweeping changes to FEMA, including significant staff reductions and the establishment of a comprehensive review council to evaluate the agency structure and effectiveness. It is essential to note that only Congress has the authority to dissolve or overhaul FEMA. We are monitoring bipartisan legislation efforts that are gaining traction, 6 bills currently in circulation, with the aim not only for restructuring, but also elevating FEMA to a cabinet level agency as it was during its inception. We're also seeing the abrupt cancellation of disaster preparedness programs like BRIC, which provide over $1 billion in flood prevention funding nationwide that has directly impacted our cities like Pacifica and Menlo Park. While these represent significant changes on how disaster response and preparedness funding flows to communities like ours from the federal sources. We're well prepared here in San Mateo County, and we've been through that. We will adapt, we will survive, and we will thrive. Here's what our finance committee, which Hillsborough and Pacifica and Daly City and I serve on, will be doing. The chair and I have asked the director to track every federal funding stream. FEMA is only one of a half a dozen. That touches our emergency services operations, tracks changes to emergency management performance grants, monitors shift and disaster relief protocols, and analyzes potential impacts on our regional preparedness and investments. The director will provide an analysis and insights on the federal funding impacts and propose FEMA overhauls at our next finance committee meeting. But here's what gives me the confidence in our resilience is this JPA that we have been a part of, some for a long time, some new. But San Mateo is the only 2 counties in California operating under this collaborative emergency management framework. While federal policies may shift, our JPA establishes a robust foundation of shared resources, coordinated planning, and mutual aid that operates independently of Washington's movement. This partnership is our greatest asset to adapt what may come next. As someone who has served on this council, I don't want to tell you how many years, but it's been many. I have advocated for our regional partnership at the county level. I've witnessed firsthand how our collaborative approach has consistently strengthened our emergency response capabilities during every challenge faced. From the San Bruno pipeline explosion to COVID-19, our regional coordination has proven invaluable. That proven strength and institutional knowledge is not going to stop or go anywhere, and it positions us to capitalize on new opportunities that may emerge. The commitment to the council is to have complete transparency and proactive communication. We will stay ahead of the federal changes, anticipate their impacts before they materialize. We'll adapt our strategies, leverage our unparalleled regional partnerships, and ensure our communities not only remain protected, but are better prepared than ever. The federal government's step back from emergency management is our movement to step forward. Their retreat is our opportunity to expand our capabilities, strengthen our resolve, and write the future of emergency management right here in San Mateo. This I wanted to because it has come up about the FEMA and what has happened, regardless of what's going on in the nation. But I believe, if my history is right, I've been on this board since 2006. So I will tell you, from an active shooter to incident in Half Moon Bay, we continue to have resolve, and we continue to have the partnership that when the time comes, we rally together and we come together. And there are no borders, there are no towns or cities, it's one county. So I just want to assure that the chair and I have talked about that. It's coming up at the next finance committee meeting because we don't know, and it is very uncertain times, but be assured that the team is working and will be keeping us up to date and on track and on target, so we continue the good work that we're doing here and that we have been. So with that, let's move on to item 9, report outs related to Emergency Services Council. Do we have any report outs from members? Hearing and seeing none, that will bring us to, we've already approved, we already approved consent. And so, my friends, at 6:38, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Meeting adjourned. Not sure. I normally go to those. That's why I see that. So I go in front of you.